Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alex.
Pleasure to see you. Thank you for coming. I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself? Alright. IELTS reading is our topic today. And you know, I like to think of IELTS as a triathlon. In triathlon, we have three kinds of sports, right?
Yes.
Swimming,
Cycling
and
running.
That's right. So IELTS has 4 parts, but the first 3 are done together. That's why I like to compare it to triathlon. Yes. Now, where does reading come in?
Second part.
Second part. Very good. Okay. And this is our topic today. So it's the second part. What's the first part?
Listening.
Listening. How long is the listening part? 30 minutes?
45.
30 minutes, and then you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers. So a total of 40 minutes. It's like a good warm-up before the rest of the test. So reading comes second. How long is the reading?
1 hour.
1 hour, yes. 1 hour of focusing on what you are reading. Now, I want you to focus on what I am saying. So this is going to be a listening exercise for you for the next hour. We have a lot of material to cover. I hope you pay attention, and I hope that you take notes. We're going to go step by step, and I'm going to try to cover as much material as possible. So, what are we going to look at today? We are going to look at what you can expect at IELTS reading. Very, very important. The more you know, the more you understand, and the more you are prepared to handle the skills necessary, the higher your score will be. So our job is to make sure that you are familiar with the format, with the types of questions, with the skills that you need to handle those questions, and to answer all the questions that you might have. Okay? So, we're going to cover what to expect on the test, what to do, what not to do, how to do it. Hopefully, the more you know, the more familiar you are, the lower your stress level will get, and the higher your band will be. We're going to look at some of the most common types of questions that you can see at the reading section of IELTS. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Type number 1. Fill in the blanks. So you have a text and you have sentences following that text where you need to fill in the blanks. I want to mention some of the most common mistakes that students make at every exercise with every type of questions. So when it comes to filling in the blanks, one of the most common mistakes is looking for the exact match. When you're trying to fill in the blanks, you're looking for the right word in the text to fill your blank. Well, you want to make sure that you're not necessarily focusing on the exact word that you had in the text. It may be a synonym. A lot of IELTS is about synonyms. As a matter of fact, if you understand how they create these tests, you will be ahead of the game. How do you think they create IELTS, especially the reading part? They take a difficult text and then they come up with questions about that text. Now, in those questions, they don't want to use exactly the same words. That would be too easy. So they come up with synonyms. They paraphrase. Keep that in mind when you're doing all kinds of questions. A lot of times students are looking necessarily for the exact match and they don't find it in the text and they start panicking. Don't panic. Expect to see synonyms. There is a lot of them in IELTS, in all sections of IELTS. Number 2, mistake number 2, panicking over unknown words.
Panic.
Yes, well, remember what I just said a minute ago? They take a difficult test. Even a native speaker would not understand all words 100%. That's the way IELTS is built. It is designed that way. So you should be okay with that. Expect to see quite a few unknown words. That's fine. You will still be able to get your band 7 even without knowing all the words. Trust me. If you do everything else correctly. 2 important skills when it comes to reading: skimming and scanning. We're going to have separate training sessions on that, but just for you to know, skimming is reading for the general idea, whereas scanning, like the radar, specific data, exactly, yes. You're looking for a specific piece of information. Is it necessary to read everything? Absolutely not. You don't have time to read all that. That's where skimming and scanning come in. When it says the word limit, pay attention to the way the exercise is being given to you. Some tasks will tell you a certain number of words. No more than 2 words, no more than 3 words. That's important. If you fail to respect the number of words, you will lose that point. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Now, as far as this particular type of questions is concerned, the answers and the questions are in the same order. I'm going to mention the order in some of the types of questions, and that will give you a good hint. When you're looking, let's say you need to fill in 10 blanks. So you're looking for particular information in the text. Well, if you already know the answer to number 1 and number 3, number 2 will be somewhere between 1 and 3 in this particular example. So some types of questions allow you to follow the order and some don't. That's one of the details that you need to keep in mind. Fill in the blanks allows you to do them in order. Another point is your opinion does not matter for the reading section of IELTS. You may be an expert in the field of the text, or you may know nothing about that field whatsoever. It does not matter. IELTS is not about your knowledge, it's not about your expertise. It's about how well you're able to use English. That's all. Now, when you're filling in the blanks, make sure that the grammar matches. If it's the correct answer, the grammar will always match. If it doesn't, then it's not the correct answer. And the last mistake that I will mention here is that many students tend to take too much time for a certain question. We're going to come back to time management, but this is a good point to remember. Do not waste too much time on any single question. If you find it too hard, skip it and return. That's right. All right, let's move on. Multiple choice. Again, you have a text, and then you have multiple choice questions where you usually have to choose one out of 4 options. The trick here is that in some questions you will notice that 2 of the 4 options make sense. Usually you'll be able to eliminate the first 2, but the other 2 both make sense. This is when you need to look at the details of those options, of those answers, and try to understand how different they are, one from the other. There can only be one correct answer in the multiple choice. A good trick to use when it comes to multiple choice is read the questions before the text. If you're doing it the other way around, if you start with the text, you're wasting your time because you don't know what the question is. You're just wasting your time reading without knowing what you're looking for, what you should be focusing on. So, the conclusion is read the questions first, then when you go over the text, you know what you're looking for. It saves you time. Time is very important. You only have 60 minutes to do the whole thing, which is 40 questions. If you are not able to come up with an answer, should you leave the answer blank?
No.
Never. Why? Even if you guess the answer, you still have 25% chance of getting it right. You'd be surprised how many students leave answers blank, and that's just giving away points. So don't do that. Another thing to pay attention to is that some sentences will have the same keywords as in the text, but the meaning will be different. If you're only paying attention to the keywords in your multiple choice options, as soon as you see a certain keyword, oh, that's my answer. Not necessarily. Read the whole answer. Sometimes you will find certain words such as but, however, and so on, that change the meaning of the sentence. Just because you see the same keyword doesn't mean that it's the right choice. You need to look at the sentence completely. Keywords may be the same, but careful with the meaning. Now, in this type of questions, the answers and the questions also follow the same order, which makes it easier for you. Now, when you're dealing with multiple choice, not only do you need to pick the best option, you need to double check yourself why the other options are wrong. That's how you make sure that your option is the only correct one.
Answer.
Yes, that your answer, thank you. If 3 others are wrong, then you are right. Alright, next.
Sentence ending.
Sentence endings. You get a text, then you get a certain number of sentences, and you need to match sentences a list of sentences to a list of endings. You have two lists that follow the text. List of sentences and lists of endings for those sentences. And you need to match them up. Most of the time you will have more endings than sentences, than the beginnings. Expect that, that's okay. That's part of the exercise. It's normal. Now this is a test of understanding and not necessarily grammar when it comes to sentence endings. Do that based on the text, not on what you know about the subject. Goes back to what I said earlier. You may be an expert in the field. Forget that. All your tasks, all your answers should be given based on the texts that they give you. When you're matching sentence endings, remember that you're matching the sentence to the ending and not the other way around. It may be important for the total meaning of what you're doing. Now, when you're looking for the answers, where is more important than what? So try to locate the area where the answer is before going for the answer itself. Where before what? And again, read incomplete sentences first before going to the text. Don't make the mistake of reading before going to the questions. Questions first, then the text. It is normal that the first question will take you more time. Sometimes we hear advice, well, if we have 60 minutes and we have 40 questions, so you should spend 90 seconds on every question. Sounds logical, right? That's a very bad advice. Why? Because different questions have a different degree of difficulty. Some of them will be very easy. You will fly through them. Whereas others will take you more time. You should not spend equal amount of time on every question. Go fast through the easy ones, take more time with the difficult ones. In this example, with this type of questions, when you do the first one, it will take you more time. As you progress, it will take you less time because you will have eliminated certain options. And it will take you less and less time. Okay, a special place in the preparation for IELTS in general and reading in particular should be given to synonyms. You should be as comfortable as possible with all kinds of synonyms. And by that I mean, remember the exercise I give to the students often, which is I give a list of, for example, 20 verbs, basic verbs, and you need to come up with academic synonyms. So instead of saying, for example, look, who can give me a academic synonym to the verb to look? Inspect. Good. What else? How about focus? Focus. Yes. Not bad. Observe. And so on. You have so many. So you do that with your list of verbs, and then you go to other parts of speech, do the same thing with nouns, then you go to adjectives, then you go to adverbs. At least work with those 4 parts of speech. It will give you an excellent practice for all areas of IELTS. For speaking and for writing and for reading, any section will improve.
Okay.
A couple of words about the word limit. When the exercise says no more than 3 words, what is a word? If it's a number, does it count as a word? If it's a number 72, a 2-digit number, is that 1 word or 2? One. Yes, that's right. Number 72 counts as 1 word. That's important to know if you want to answer the question correctly. If the word has a hyphen, for example, 5 minute, 5-minute, we have a 5-minute break. 5 minute, is that a 1 word or 2?
1.
Very good. Counts as 1 word. Sometimes it can have more than 1 hyphen in the same word. For example, state of the art. Right? That's a long adjective. State hyphen of hyphen the hyphen art. 3 hyphens. Counts as 1 word. Now, if the task says fill in the blanks or sentence endings, whatever, from the text, it's important. You have to take it exactly the way it is in the text, put it in your sentence. If it doesn't say from the text, then it's up to you. You can play with the words, you can conjugate the verbs, and so on. Alright, moving on. Next type of question is
The false, not given.
true, false, or not given. Okay, this type of questions for many students is the most difficult. What is so difficult about it? Well, there are many reasons. One of the mistakes that we can make here is focus on the keywords instead of the meanings. We talked about synonyms a lot, right? So don't be tricked by the keywords. Just because the keywords are mentioned in the sentence in the same way that they are mentioned in the text does not mean that the statement is necessarily true. You have to be careful with the meaning. If you don't find the exact answer in this section, what should you do? Mark it as not given. If you can't find the answer, the chances are it's not in the text. If it's not in the text, it's a not given. Now, if the statement in the answer is similar to the one in the text, but not exact, it's false. There are no opinions here. These are strictly facts. The statement must match exactly what it says in the text. If it's not exact, then the answer is false. You choose the false. Again, based on the text, not on what you know about the subject. And as far as the order is concerned, also you can follow. This is what makes it slightly easier. You can follow the same order. So if you have 10 questions and you did number 3 and number 4, number 5, Well, the answer to number 4 will be between those two. Okay, moving on. Matching headings. Alright, what does that mean? So you have paragraphs and you have a list of headings or titles. You need to match the title to the paragraph or the heading to the paragraph. Now, the texts are so long, as I mentioned earlier, you will not have time to read the whole thing. So, you skim. Try to read first couple of sentences, last couple of sentences to get the main idea. That should be enough to find the correct title for that paragraph. Difficult words. Again, we talked about that earlier. Don't get scared by those. You will see a lot of unfamiliar, unknown words. That's the way it is meant to be. If you get stuck on a certain question, don't waste too much time with it. Come back to it later. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. This is the kind of question where the first one will always take you more time. Because you have, let's say, 5 paragraphs, you need to match the heading. As you move along, first one, second one, third one, you eliminate the other ones, and it will take you less and less time. It will get easier. If possible, start with this type of questions. If you see it on your test, it's a good idea to start with this. Okay. Labeling a diagram. So you get a picture, and then you get certain lines pointing to different areas of that picture that indicate certain components of that diagram. And you need to find the words. What should we pay attention to in this section? The word limit. How many words are you allowed to use for each term? Very important. Can be 1, can be 2, can be 3. Read the task before you do it. Pay attention here. The questions are not in order. They are not in the same order as in the text. So don't fall into that either. What's the trick here? Do the easy ones first. There are always some questions that are easier than others. Start with them. You'll have more time for more difficult questions. Next. Matching names. You get a list of names, usually some famous people, celebrities, maybe scientists. And you have a list of statements that some of them made. You need to match who did what or who said what. You match the names of people to the sentences about those people based on the text that they give you. What should you keep in mind here? Again, first, go for the easy ones. What do I mean by easy ones? If you see that a certain name appears in the text only once, well, that's easy. There is no confusion. You scan, remember scanning for specific data, scan the text, find that name, and there is your answer. If you see that one of the names appears more than once, well, that will get a little bit more tricky. So you can spend more time on those questions. But do the easy ones first, the ones where the name is mentioned once. only. And then go to the other ones. Is there any order in this type of questions? No, there isn't any order. They mix them up, making it difficult for you. That's the exercise. So don't follow any chronological or any other kind of order. As you find your answers, delete them. As you progress, it will get easier for you. You will have less and less options to choose from. Okay, next. Matching information to paragraphs. You will have a certain number of paragraphs, and then you need to match statements to those paragraphs, like a short summary of a paragraph. And as in one of the previous types, you will have more paragraphs than the statements. That's okay. Again, be prepared for that. You may have 5 statements and 6 paragraphs. So at the end of the exercise, 1 paragraph will be left. That's fine, that's the way it should be. So, and also, it may happen so that the same paragraph will have more than one answer. So in my example, you have 5 statements, 6 paragraphs. That doesn't mean that 5 statements correspond to 5 different paragraphs. Not necessarily. You can have 2 statements that match the same paragraph. So at the end, you can have paragraphs left out that don't match any statements. Pay attention to the meanings. Be careful, focus on what you're doing. In this type of questions, again, there is no order. Scanning and skimming, very helpful here. If you can, leave this for the end of the reading section. Alright, this brings us to a very important
Time management.
time management, yes. What is important to remember when it comes to time management in the reading section of IELTS? Transferring answers. Remember, for the listening part, I said you have 30 minutes to listen and then 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Well, in the reading part, they don't give you any extra time. So you should be able to do it within your 60 minutes. One of the worst mistakes that students can make overall when it comes to preparing for reading is not reading. If I ask you, how much do you read?
Nothing.
Different students read different things, and some don't at all. Okay, what can we read? What should we read? Anything that is interesting to you. Obviously, if it's the topic that you find fascinating, you find exciting, you will enjoy reading about it. That's good. But keep in mind, there are certain topics for IELTS in general, all parts of IELTS, that come back again and again. If you look at my Facebook page that is specific for IELTS preparation, IELTS BMW, you will see a list of the most common topics in the last few years. We go over hundreds of topics from previous tests and we combine them, we see which ones repeat themselves the most often. So next time you're listening to the radio or choosing a movie or whatever, remember that list of most common topics. Don't read about anything. Don't listen to just anything that is out there. Choose the program that is related to one of those topics. If you're listening to the news, or I always like to give an example, one of my favorite websites, breakingnewsenglish.com. breakingnewsenglish.com. It has a section on reading. It's called speed reading. Well, it has all sorts of topics. Well, don't just read about anything. Keep in mind what's the most common on the tests. Okay? Use your time in the most effective and efficient way possible. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to practicing, so you listen. At one point, you need to try the real test. My suggestion is, try the real test with the exam conditions by timing yourself, and then try to do it one more time by giving yourself more time. In other words, in a slower mode, when you have more time to think about the answers, analyze the questions and all that. Okay? Do it properly first, then do it fast. Don't rush to do it. You know, I always give the example of this triathlon, how important it is to practice with the real exam conditions, time yourself strictly and all that. Yes, that's important when you are ready for that. And the way to get ready for that is by starting slowly. Remember the listening section of the same website, Breaking News English. It has how many different speeds?
5.
5? Yes. If you start with speed 5, are you going to feel very excited about IELTS? No, you're going to quit, right? But if you start at number 1 and slowly build up, you'll be fine. You'll be able to reach speed 4. And that's all you need to be comfortable for listening IELTS. Right? So there is a way to do things properly. So alternate between slower exams when you take your time and the real exam conditions. And develop your own strategies. I mean, we can spend years teaching you and sharing all the tips and this and that, but the best way is figure your own way of doing it. Even when it comes to time management, you know, band 7. How many of you would be happy with band 7? Most of you would be quite happy with band 7, right? I had a student today, she got 7.5. Wow. With 7.5, she can go to any university in the world, including the best ones. Harvard, Stanford will take you with 7.5. If you get a 7, 98% of universities will be happy to accept you. So, how many questions do you need to answer in the reading portion to get a band 7? Roughly 30 questions. 75%. If you get 3 out of 4, you get 7 for your reading. If you have 60 minutes for reading and you have 3 sections, so divide 60 by 3. Yes, you're right, it's 20 minutes. That's the amount of time that you should spend on each section. Now remember, you don't have any extra time to transfer your answers, right? So you have to do it within the 20 minutes. which means that you roughly spend 17 minutes doing one section and then 3 minutes transferring your answers. Now, this is not exactly mathematics, like I told you. Maybe you will be able to do it in 2 minutes or in 4 minutes. Play with it. Practice. Your personal experience will tell you the exact numbers that are right for you. Another tip is practice with the IELTS answer sheet. The closer you are to the real exam conditions, the better it is. When you practice your mock tests, get in the exam mode. Everything is as on the real exam. The timings are real, no breaks. You write on the answer sheet. You answer your questions for reading on the answer sheet. And all the same sheets as on the exam. Where do you download all those? Same place as everything else. IELTSBNW.com is your destination where you download. Free section. IELTSBNW.com/free. Okay. Remember we said that if you find a certain question too difficult, don't waste time with it. So I would say if any particular answer is taking you more than 2 minutes, it's probably one of those really difficult answers that they put there just to make a difference between band 8 and band 9. Who do you think gets band 9? Right? Or band 8? They need to be able to tell the difference. So they will have a couple of very difficult questions that only band 9 students can do. If you find that question, you are not on that level, don't waste your time with those questions. Your goal is not 9 anyways, right? Don't spend 5 minutes on one question. Time management, let it go. You only need 30 questions to get it settled.
Who do you get who is expect 9?
On the same website page that I just mentioned, you can download a full list of minimum requirements. And you can look, what are they looking, what do they need to give you a 9? For speaking, for writing, for everything. It's not a secret. That's what the examiners are basing their evaluation on. When I correct your exams, I have your essay in one hand and that list in the other. And I compare them. That's how I decide your score. Okay. A couple of thoughts about useful resources that you can use. YouTube. Has anyone heard of YouTube?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. How about TED Talks? Very popular, very useful. Again, be careful when choosing the topic. Yes, have fun with those that are of interest to you, but keep in mind the ones that are most common at IELTS, right? It's not about what you like, it's about what they want to see. But, again, mix some business with pleasure, have fun as you're doing it, and then you will enjoy yourself at the same time. Plenty of audiobooks available for free online. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Good. Basically what I'm saying is read as much as
You can.
possible. Yes. On your way to school, on your way to work, on your way home, as you exercise, before going to bed, squeeze out some time. Practice makes perfect. Trust me, those who get a band 7 and above are those who read. All right, how are we doing on time? Ooh, 15 minutes exactly. Okay, perfect timing. All right, now, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.